Hi friends, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. I hope you like this video that I'm going to present to you today. Okay, I'm going to walk you step by step on how we want to draft the pattern to make this awesome bag. And on my second part of the video, I'm going to show you how we're going to sew it and complete the full look, okay? Okay, now I'm going to explain to you how we want to draft our pattern, okay? So the main body is going to be a square. Okay, this is the main body. It's going to be a square. And width is going to be 15 inches, okay? And the length is going to be 16 inches. Okay, this is the body, okay? Now, the straps are going to be 26 inches in length, okay? And the width is going to be 1.5. Okay, so now we're going to add seam allowance, right? So we're going to add 1/2 inch here for the length, okay? We're going to add 1/2 inch here plus an additional 1 inch, okay? So we have 1/2 inch seam allowance, okay, here, and then we're going to add 1/2 inch seam allowance here, as well as 1 inch here, okay, plus. Okay, we're going to add, so instead of 16 inches it's going to be plus, right, 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is 1 inch, so we have 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch plus 1 inch equals, okay, so 16, 17, 18 inches, okay? So it's going to be 18 inches, okay? And now for the width, we're going to add 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch here, okay? Which is my seam allowance. So like I said, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and here, okay, 1/2 inch seam allowance, okay? So now it's going to be this and this here. So it's going to be 15 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 is going to be 15 and a half, 16 inches. So now it's going to be 16 inches, okay? That's my new width measurement. This is my new length measurement, okay? This is for the body of the bag. Now the strap, remember the length is 26 inches, but we want to add 1/2 inch on each side, okay? We want to add 1/2 inch, and we want to add 1/2 inch seam allowance. So it's 1/2 and 1/2. This goes right here, okay? So it's 1/2 and 1/2, 27 inches, okay? Now the width is 1.5, and we are going to add also 1/2 inch at the top and 1/2 inch at the bottom, okay? So it's 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. So it's going to be 1.5 plus, okay, seam allowance and seam allowance. So now we have 1/2 plus 1/2, okay? So it's going to be 1.5 to 2.5. So it's going to be 2.5 inch, okay? So these are my new measurements. Now if we want, we can change this pattern to be on the half, but we want to leave it right now. So this is the straps, right? And this one we're gonna cut 4, right, for the straps, 2 on each side, double-sided, and this one we want to cut 2, okay? So now I'm gonna leave this to the side for now, okay? And what I'm gonna do with the paper, I'm just gonna tape it together, okay? And it doesn't matter how you tape it, as long as you're able to work with it, okay? So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna fold it because I'm gonna work with half, okay? That way it's easier. So remember, this is the top, right? This is my top, okay? And remember, my top, the width, okay, is gonna measure 16 inches, okay? Since I folded in half, okay, I'm gonna divide it by 2, so it equals 8. So I'm gonna measure 8 inches. Okay, so 8 inches is right in here. And I'm gonna mark it kind of like in the middle as well, 8 inches. Okay, so 8 inches right here, and also at the bottom, because remember we're gonna trace the line, we're gonna cut the excess. So 8 and 8 right here. Okay, now I'm gonna connect those lines. Okay, and you can do it in any way you want, but I figure it's easier if you fold it, that way you cut both at the same time. Okay, so I'm gonna cut the excess, and remember I'm using my paper scissors. Okay, so I'm gonna cut the excess, and you can change the width of your bag if you want it to be bigger, I mean wider. You can change it to be wider. This is up to you. Okay, so now see, now you can see my width of my bag is 16 inches. See that? 16 inches, right? Okay, now we want to work on the length. The length has to be 18 inches. Okay, so I know if I place my ruler is 18 inches, so I can just mark it right here. Okay, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here, and this is easier because my ruler, you know, that's the end of my ruler, 18 inches, so I can do that on kind of like 3 sections. That way it's easier. I'm gonna trace it, connect those lines, and then I'm gonna cut the excess again. Okay, so connect those lines, and I'm cutting the excess. And this is paper, so it doesn't matter which is your top and your bottom, because it's symmetrical, right? The bottom should also measure the same as the top, right? Like if my top, I only label my top so you can see it as a guidance. But okay, this is my pattern. I'm gonna add the seam allowance. Remember, we have 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm gonna trace my seam allowance, and remember at the top we have 1/2 inch plus the 1 inch that is gonna be folded, right? So it's kind of gonna look like this. It's gonna look like this, right? And we're gonna go, and this is the cool thing about this ruler, you can see through it, so it's easy to trace your seam allowance. Okay, this is how my pattern is gonna look like, and I'm gonna label it in a second. Okay, so now this is my top. Okay, this is the bottom, and I like to mark my center, so I'm just gonna fold it, and I'm just gonna trim a little triangle right here. That way I know that's my halfway point on the top. Okay, I don't have to do that in the bottom. I'm doing this here because this is gonna be my guide on how I'm gonna place the straps. Okay, because usually what I do, I fold this one more time. I fold it where the seam allowance meets the centerpiece, and I do another notch right here. I mean another little cutting right here. And I do the same thing on this side. You see where this seam allowance is? Okay, right here. And I do that again here. And that's where the straps are gonna go. Okay, my straps are gonna go right here. This is my tote bag pattern. Okay, we wanna cut 2 self. We're gonna cut 2 interfacing. Okay, and we are gonna cut 2 lining. And remember, you can make the lining also be a cool fabric if you want it to be reversible. Okay, so this is how my pattern is gonna look. And I'm gonna use this remaining piece of paper here. And remember, the length of my strap is gonna be 27 inches. Let's see how much we have here. We have about, oops, 16. So let's add, I'm gonna add more paper. So I'm just gonna cut this little piece here. And right now I'm just connecting paper so I have enough. Okay, the other option I could do is I can work on half the pattern if I wanted to, but I'm gonna leave it like this because I want to show you how we're gonna cut it. Okay, I think we can cut more pieces at the same time. So remember, my length is gonna be 27, right? Okay, so I know this is 18 right here. 18. right? So we got 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. That's exactly 27, which is 18 inches right here, plus 9, which equals 27 inches. So now it's 27 inches, right? Now, this is the width. Now we want to go with the width. The width is 2.5 inches, okay? So I know my ruler is 2 inches, so I'm just going to trace 2 at the moment. Okay, which is going to be 2. Okay, this is going to be another 2. And we're going to add 1/2 inch, right? 1/2 inch more. Half inch more. Okay, and I'm gonna cut the excess. So that's 2.5, which includes seam allowance, right? Okay, now remember we have seam allowance at the top and at the bottom, so I'm gonna trace the sides, okay, the other side too, and we want to trace the bottom, because remember we also have 1/2 inch seam allowance at the bottom, so we want to trace this like this, okay? And this one we are actually going to cut 4 of them. Okay, this is how my pattern looks like. Okay, remember this is my straps, right? I'm going to label it tote bag straps, okay? And we are going to cut, we're going to cut 4, okay? We're going to cut 4 self, and we're going to cut 2 interfacing, okay? Because remember we had to sandwich them together, so we're going to cut 2 and 4 self. This is my bodice, and I'm going to use the same for the back, the self, the interfacing, and the lining. Same pattern, and the straps for the self and the interfacing, okay? And this is pretty much how we kind of broke it down with the seam allowance that we added to our pattern. I hope you guys enjoy my video. Okay, thank you so much for watching it.